The cloud gets a lot of love, but what about on-premises environments? In this video, I'm going to teach you how to build a Consul and Nomad cluster running in vSphere with cloud-native technologies such as Packer, Terraform, Ansible, and GitLab. This is a talk that I delivered at HashiConf 2023. I hope you enjoy it, and if you like it, please remember to subscribe to my channel and to like this video. Enjoy. Hi, welcome to this talk on Packer and Terraform and how to use them to build a Nomad cluster in vSphere. A number of technologies that we're going to use in this talk. We're going to, of course, use Packer and Terraform, but also GitLab. We're going to use Ansible, Consul, and Nomad, all to run on vSphere. And the reason why I chose vSphere is that there's a lot of attention to AWS, Azure, GCP, and the general public cloud. But I wanted to focus a little bit on the private cloud on-prem with vSphere. Hi, my name is Sam Gabriel, and I am the president of Tech8 Solutions, Inc., and we're focused on building content in the DevOps space. Previously, I was a senior solutions engineer with HashiCorp, and you can follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and my website is up there as well. So what we're going to first take a look at is the workflow, and then we're going to jump right into the demo. I only have one slide for the workflow and then some steps as to how the demo is going to go, and we'll jump right in. We have a packed half hour, so we'll make sure we go as fast as we can here. Okay, so the workflow here, we're first going to run Packer through our computer. So that will basically create a template inside of vSphere. And this is a Ubuntu 22.04 image that will get created inside of vSphere. Then we're going to work with our GitLab repo, and upon a git push, the GitLab CI/CD pipeline is going to run, and it's going to run Terraform as the first stage of this pipeline. Now, I am using Terraform Cloud to store the remote state. I'm using the free account, and what will happen is Terraform is going to reach out to that image we just created with Packer, grab that image, and we'll go ahead and create a number of VMs inside of vSphere. And those VMs are what we're going to use to create our Nomad cluster. Now, after that, GitLab is going to go ahead and move on to the second stage, and that is to run Ansible. Ansible is going to install and configure Consul and Nomad in those VMs that we just provisioned with Terraform. Now, for our demo, we have a number of high-level steps. I want to walk you through those so you don't get lost as to where we're going. First step, of course, is to run Packer from our desktop. That will create the Ubuntu 22.04 template image in vSphere. Then we're going to use a technology called ngrok. And what this does, it allows Terraform Cloud to reach out into our private environment inside of vSphere and be able to provision inside of vSphere. Now, if you are running with Terraform Enterprise, there are cloud agents that you can run inside your environment that will kind of do the same thing. Since we're using the free tier, that's why I'm going to be using ngrok for that. Number 3 here, we're going to update the GitLab CI file, and that's the pipeline file, and say that we want one server and one client that we're going to use. And we're going to use an older version of Nomad and Consul, and we'll see how we're going to update that later. And step 4, we're going to push the change into Git, and that will trigger the pipeline, the first stage, where Terraform is going to run and create the 2 VMs in vSphere. After that's done, GitLab will start the second stage of the pipeline, which will run Ansible, and Ansible is going to go ahead and install and configure both Nomad and Consul agents into the 2 VMs that we just provisioned. Then we're going to run a Nomad job called count dash. It's a famous job that we've run for a number of tutorials. And then we're going to update the GitLab CI file to add 2 additional servers and 2 additional clients. Plus, we're going to update both the Nomad and Consul versions and see how that gets all taken care of with both Terraform and Ansible. And of course, we want to add 2 more servers because we want to have more high availability when it comes to running, Raft clusters with Consul and Nomad. Number 9 here, we're going to check the new versions that we just installed of Nomad and Consul and check that the Count Dash app is still running through the upgrade process. Finally, we're going to update the GitLab CI file one last time to go ahead and destroy our environment. So why don't we go ahead and start with Packer right now. Okay, so we are going to go into our Visual Studio Code here, and really quickly before we run Packer, we have a number of folders. We've got an Ansible, a Nomad, a Packer, and a Terraform folder, and we've got our GitLab CI file here. This is the pipeline, very important file we'll see a few times in this demo. So first things first, let's go ahead and look at our README file and take a look at it in Markdown right here. So the first thing we want to do is go into Packer. So let's change directory into Packer. Let's actually see where we are. Okay, see Packer. All right, and let's run this command, which will run or create our Packer template. And actually, before we run this, let me show you my vSphere environment. So let me bring this over here so we can see that we currently don't have a template for Ubuntu 22.04. And let's make this a bit bigger. So as you can see here, I've got 16.04, 18.04, 20.04, but we're going to create a new image here in just a second with Packer. All right, so let's go ahead and run this command and hit run. Now this takes about half an hour. So what we're going to do obviously is going to pause this video and we'll come back when it is complete. Okay, looks like we are done. And as you can see here, we've completed in 32 minutes and 57 seconds, almost 33 minutes here. And if you want to take a look at vSphere, as you can see here, we now have this template, Ubuntu 22.04. And that is what we're going to use for the VMs for both Consul and Nomad, both the servers and the clients. Okay, so the next step now is to run Terraform. So let's go back here. And what we need to do is really run ngrok. And if you don't know what ngrok is, Google it, or ngrok.com. You can create an account. And when you create an account, we're going to run this command here, ngrok http, and then the fully qualified domain name of your vCenter server. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run ngrok http, https, and vcenter.home. And that is going to create a tunnel for me. And what I'm going to do is grab the host name here. And that host name I need to feed into Terraform Cloud's one of the variables for Terraform Cloud. So if I go into Terraform Cloud, I have a workspace here. I'll quickly show you what it looks like. VMware Nomad Infra right here, and I have a number of variables. And this variable here that I want to update is vSphere vCenter. So that's the fully qualified domain name or IP address. So I'm going to put the actual host name here that I have from ngrok. And once again, what this is going to do, it's going to allow Terraform Cloud to come into my vSphere environment and provision. Okay, so I've got a vSphere user, the SSH password and username for the machines, vSphere vCenter, fully qualified domain name or IP as I mentioned, and vSphere password as well. So really these are the variables that I have for Terraform. And if I go back into Visual Studio Code, can go into our another tab here, and actually we don't need that. All we need to do is go into GitLab CI, and GitLab CI is just the pipeline that GitLab uses. And in this case, we have a number of variables that we want to update, and that really will get everything going for us. And I'll explain that in just a little bit. But for now, we want to create 2 VMs. So let me uncomment this, and I'm going to comment this. So the server names are Nomad Consul Server 1, client name for the IP or for the VM is Nomad Consul Client 1, and here are the IP addresses for those 2 servers. So remember, we're going to start off with only 2 servers, 1 server and 1 client, and then we're going to move to this, which is 3 servers and 3 clients and their IP addresses. Also, console, I'm going to go with a lower version here and another older version of Nomad as well. We'll see how we're going to upgrade to the .3 versions in just a second. So save that. That is good to go. And now upon a commit and a push, we're going to see our pipeline start to run. So let's go ahead and say start with 2 VMs. Okay. And we're going to commit that. And we're going to sync our changes. This is going to push our repo here. It's going to push what we just committed up to GitLab. And when that gets pushed, we can go and use the GitLab extension here and check to see the latest pipeline that just got pushed. And you can see here that this is the pipeline. It's running. And there are 2 stages. There's the provisioning stage and the install stage. The provisioning stage is right here that you can see. Terraform provision servers. This is the first stage, and there's a script that we'll go and take a look at in just a bit. And then the second stage is the install stage. That is where Ansible is going to kick in and go ahead and install Consul and Nomad for us. Now, there's something called a GitLab runner. If you're not familiar with that, this is a way for GitLab to provision or to run pipelines. And I am running this GitLab runner inside of a Kubernetes environment that I have running in vSphere. So it's outside the scope of this talk, but just know that the actual pipeline is running local in vSphere. But of course, similar to what Terraform Cloud has in terms of agents, GitLab runners also can communicate with GitLab.com, the SaaS offering from GitLab, and that's how it's provisioning these resources. Okay, so let's take a look at the first stage here, and this is the actual Terraform run. As you can see, we have 2 to plan, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. So this is going to take a little bit of time to create our first 2 VMs for us. So while this runs, let's go ahead and take a look at this pipeline in a little bit more details. So these are variables, okay? So these variables we're going to use within the pipeline. As you can see, the server names, client names, server IPs, client IPs, and so on. The console version, Nomad version, and CNI version for Nomad. Okay, we talked about 2 stages, provision and install. The first stage here, we are storing the current user in the user variable. We're going to use that or reuse that user in the next stage. This is for us to, this build.env is a way to pass variables between stages in GitLab. We're creating a terraform.d directory here, and this is going to be used by Terraform, and we're going to get the token, as you can see, the TFC token. This is where we're going to store it in the terraform.d directory. So we're doing that right here. And the TFC token, we have that stored inside of GitLab's variables. So we're grabbing that and we're storing it in this folder where GitLab is running, in the GitLab runner. Okay. Then we're changing directory into Terraform. So as you saw before, we have multiple directories. So we're going inside of Terraform here, and we're going to run this script, create autovars shell script or bash script. What this does is going to grab the variables that we have at the top here, server names, client names, server IPs, client IPs. So whether we have 1 or we have 3 or however many servers and clients we want to define, we pass those as variables into the script. And what this script does, it iterates over those number of servers and clients and adds the name of the server and its IP into a file called ips.auto.tfvars, which is a Terraform variables file that Terraform is going to use, and we're going to iterate over those different servers or VMs to create them inside of Terraform. So really that's all this shell script is doing. And then we're going to Terraform init with the backend config using the token TFC token that we talked about earlier. And then we're going to run a number of Terraform commands: Terraform format, validate, and then Terraform apply auto approve. Typically the peer review process happens at the GitLab merge request. And once that is merged, the pipeline goes ahead and automatically applies Terraform. So once Terraform is complete, the .env or the build.env file gets passed to the next stage. And like I mentioned before, that is just storing the user, so I don't have to rerun it again. Okay, so let's see how far we've gone before we talk about the second stage. So let's go back to our GitLab flow. And it seems like we've completed the provisioning of the VMs. So you can see job has succeeded, 2 have been added, and I can double check my vSphere console here. And sure enough, we have Nomad Console Client 1, Nomad Console Server 1. So that looks great. And we are now in the second stage where it hasn't started yet, where Ansible is going to kick in. So let's review the second stage here. So we've got, we're making a directory where we're storing the SSH keys, the ID RSA private key, which we grab from the GitLab variables. And that is needed for Ansible to SSH into the different machines that we created in vSphere. So we're passing that over, changing the permissions to tighten it up with 400. And then we're changing directory into Ansible. So inside the Ansible folder, as we saw before, in the Ansible folder, we have a bunch of roles and the playbook, the inventory file. If we have time, we'll cover all of that. And basically what we're going to do is run this script, update inventory.sh. And this script is similar to the other script that we saw, but this time for Ansible. So we're updating the inventory file in Ansible. If you're not familiar with Ansible, it needs an inventory file of the IP addresses of the different servers that you are going to configure. So we're creating this inventory file or appending this inventory file with the different server names and IPs, and also client names and IPs, so that Ansible can configure that. So once again, it's similar to the other script that we just saw that Terraform was using. Then we just quickly cat inventory to see what it looks like after this script has run. And finally, we're running the Ansible playbook using the inventory file we just created, and we're passing a few variables in here. So the first variable is the console version, then the Nomad version, and then the CNI version. Okay, so that all gets passed over to the playbook. Let's see how far we've gotten. Oh, looks like we have successfully finished this script. And as you can see, we have 30 changes, 29 changes. So everything looks great here. Now we just want to go ahead and verify that. So the way to verify that is, I know the two IPs here is the .96 and the second one is the .93. So if I open 192.168, actually it's right here for me, 8500 is for console, and then 4646 is for Nomad. So just give it a couple of seconds for the UI to show up. So this is Nomad, this is console. So right away in console, we see that Nomad has registered itself in console. So the Nomad client, Nomad. So these are the services that we've got. We've got the nodes here, and we have one client node, one server node. As you can see, the Nomad console client, Nomad console server, and of course there's one leader. If you go to the overview, it's going to give you a warning that you only have, you can't really there's no HA. If this goes down, then Consul's down, right? Over to Nomad now, we can see the servers right here. So we've got one server and we've got one client right here, and we don't have any jobs yet. So why don't we go ahead and run a job? Okay, so let's grab a job that I have for us, the count dash job that I mentioned. And that is over here. So let's grab that and put it right here. And we're going to just plan that. We're going to run it. And just give it a minute or so for this to run. And while that runs, just make sure that we've covered what we can cover in this short amount of time. So we've covered everything here in the GitLab pipeline. The playbook, we'll see if we have time to look through it. The Terraform piece, it's straightforward. We got a main.tf file, and that main.tf file is using the vSphere provider. It's using the backend remote with the TFC token. And here is my workspace that I just showed you in Terraform Cloud. And it's using the credentials for vSphere right here in the provider vSphere. And then it's actually using two modules, the vSphere VM Master here and vSphere VM Worker. So all this is doing is it's using for each, and it's going through the different server nodes and the different client nodes to call on this module that is also stored in Terraform Cloud. And this module basically goes ahead and creates the VMs for us. Okay, so we pass in a bunch of variables to these modules, and it creates the VM for us. Now we come back, we don't have outputs. We have a bunch of variables here that we can go through, and also the vars.auto.tf vars file. This is where we define how big the instances are going to be. So the master CPU is 1, the master RAM, the worker RAM, and so on. So these are the server and client definitions. This is where we are defining the Packer template that we just created with Ubuntu, the Ubuntu template 2204, and a bunch of IPs that we need here, and also the vSphere specific parameters here, the data center, the cluster, and so on. Okay, so let's go back and see if our Nomad job is healthy. It is healthy. It is running. Looks great. I'm interested in the dashboard task. So going in here, I see it's running on this client. It's the only client I have. So we can go to the IP address of this and open new tab. And this runs over 9002. And this is a simple counter that we can take a look at here. So it's just counting up, right? So that's great. Now what we want to do is continue with our demo. And in this case, let me just make sure that we're following what we want to talk about. So the next step is to update our GitLab CI file, and we are going to now move to 3 servers, 3 clients, and update our Consul and Nomad version. So we're simulating, let's say there's a growth and we need to increase the number of servers, numbers of clients, and also while we're at it, we want to upgrade the version of Consul, the version of Nomad. So to do that, let's go back to our CI pipeline, and I'm going to comment this out, and instead we'll uncomment this, and this will be the .3, this will be the .3, save that, go back to here where we're going to say upgrade to 3 servers and 3 clients. Let's commit and let's sync the changes, and that will also trigger the pipeline again. So if we refresh that, we now see that the pipeline is going to run again. Terraform is going to add 2 more servers, 2 more clients, and Ansible is going to go ahead and configure them, and they will get added to the Consul cluster and the Nomad cluster. All of that will be done for us. Also, the upgrade will happen for us as well. So let's leave that running for a bit and go back and continue our walkthrough here. So we kind of covered Terraform, how that works. Let's see if we can cover Ansible. So with Ansible, we have a number of roles. But before we get into the roles, you need an inventory file. This is the inventory file that gets populated automatically, as we saw in when we talked about the GitLab CI pipeline. And then the playbook is really running two roles. There's a console role and a Nomad role. Okay. And in the roles here, let's take a look at the console role. We've got some defaults. These are some of the variables that we need to download and install console. These are some handlers, so we can reload systemd, reload the console service. The task really is the main file where all the different tasks are defined. So in here, we're going to see installing dependencies. So we're unzipping or installing unzip basically, because we're going to use that. Downloading a tarball. So we're downloading the console version, creating a console directory, uncompressing the tarball if it exists, unpacking the tarball here and installing console at the proper path, creating a console group, creating a console user, setting the capnet bind service, installing the service in systemd, adding a service user, creating the console data directory, creating a console configuration directory. Then these were two debugging tasks that I put in place here to find the IP address of the current Ansible running, the current IPv4 address of whichever server or client, whichever node we're running through, and also count the number of hosts in a group. So these we can safely actually comment out or take out, but it's good to see them in the output. Then configuring the console servers. Here's where we go ahead and configure those servers and add the console server Jinja template where we're going to put the configuration of console for the servers, and this one is for the clients. And we also have some variables that get injected into the template. All right, and the templates I was talking about are here. So this is the console configuration file, and I'm putting in the bind address as a variable, and also the retry rejoin to allow the different clients and servers to join the cluster. So that's the client and this is the server. Also bootstrap expect, depending on how many servers, we'll expect 1 or expect 3 or what have you. And the Ansible role is very similar to the console role. So we've got the variables defined here. We've got the handlers and we've got the tasks. And I'm not going to go through the tasks, very similar to console, just a few tweaks here to install Nomad, and the templates very similar to what we saw with console, but these are the configuration files for Nomad. And finally, I didn't mention this, but this is the Nomad service that gets passed in, and also the console service for systemd to run both Nomad and console. So that takes care of Ansible briefly. Under Nomad, I have a few jobs. We're really focused on the count dash Nomad job that we just saw. And Packer, there is quite a few things to take a look at Packer that we won't be able to have time to cover, but I do have dedicated videos for Packer and Terraform for vSphere that you can check my YouTube channel for those. Okay, let's go back and take a look and see where we're at with the current run. It seems like we are still running here. So what I'll do, I'll pause the video and we'll come back and see this when it's done. All right, looks like both jobs have succeeded. The Terraform job has succeeded and added 4 additional VMs, and also Ansible has succeeded as well. So let's go and check and go back to our account dashboard. Seems like it's still running. That is a good sign. If you go into console, refresh that. Notice the version should be 114.3 right there. There we go. So it's updated to 114.3. We now have 3 servers. And Nomad, it's 1.4.1. Let's refresh. That should go to 1.4.3. Let's take a look here. And that is correct. Everything is going well. The count dash is still running. No issues. The servers are right now 3. 1 is the leader and the other 2 are followers. Count dash is still counting, no problem, no effect here. We have upgraded successfully and all looks great. And last thing is to go and destroy everything, and that is just simply by commenting this out and uncommenting that, and then run through the same process, push to git. This will go ahead and destroy everything for us. We are running out of time, so I wanted to thank you for watching, and if you need or have any questions, you know where to reach me. Happy to answer those questions for you. Enjoy the rest of HashiTalks. Thank you. Well, that's it for the talk. I hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Also use the comments of this video. I do read through the comments. If you have any suggestions for new videos or have any generic feedback, that would be great. I will catch you in another video.